TJ Net Live. It's 9:30 on the brand new year, January 1st on the East Coast. And we have Ashley Jones standing by for Michelle Medlock Adams. We have the bumper rolling. We are recording. We are streaming live. Switching to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome or welcome back to PJ Net Live. We just finished up part 1 with Tammy Taylor. That was at 9 o'clock Eastern. For those of you who were watching live, we appreciate you joining us at patriotjournalist.com. But it is now time for part 2. It keeps getting better and better. And as many of you know, on Tuesday nights, we always have Michelle Medlock Adams. Now, if you have been on social media, you follow her and read her posts, you know that she was literally in the emergency room with what turned out to be just the flu, but she is not feeling very well. But the good news is Ashley Jones has filled in for her on one other occasion with only 10 minutes of notice. Tonight she had a little bit more notice than that. Ashley, welcome back to PJ Net Live. It's good. Did you read any of those books behind you?
Yes. Most of them.
Do you like books?
I do. Well, I'm a writer. It's a requirement.
I was getting to that. Yeah, I was. You've actually written a book. You're what, 22? Really? Is that about?
I would like to go with that. I'm a little older than that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Little older.
Not much, but anyway.
Not
but at a young age, just a puppy, you have actually written a book. It's good to be hanging around people like Michelle Medlock Adams. If you're going to be a writer, an author, she is the way up. And you picked a good one, and it's paid off for you. So your book, I don't know the title of it right offhand. I have a media kit that I haven't read. But I know this. It's about cast iron cooking. And I love, cast iron is just great, because it's heavy, it's durable, it's strong. But you wrote an entire book on the topic. Tell us.
Yes, it's called Modern Cast Iron, the complete guide to selecting, seasoning, cooking, and more. So we cover everything in this one nice, hefty book. It's available for pre-order now, but it'll be released April 1st.
April Fools. Okay. I know the origins of April Fools, but we only have 20 minutes. We won't go there today. Okay. But you claim that you're not a chef.
That's right. # not a chef. No, I am a wife. I am a mom. I am someone who loves food. And so, and I love cast iron. So I had to figure out how to cook everything that I wanted to cook in cast iron. And kind of long story short, ended up publishing a book on it.
Well, most people have cookware, and I bet they've got some cast iron that they only use on special occasions. What would be a special occasion that would definitely call for cast iron cookware?
Oh, well, anytime you need cornbread, of course. You can't cook cornbread in anything but cast iron. So, in fact, I made some today because it is New Year's. Mm-hmm. And we needed collard greens. And, of course, that was made in an enameled Dutch oven and or in a regular Dutch oven. I'm not sure. I had leftovers in the freezer, which was wonderful, and made a fresh batch of cornbread to go with that. And, I mean, you got New Year's right there.
Now, today, we set out with similar aspirations, okay? My wife, did the greens, the black-eyed peas, the rice, and I'm on my way home. She says, "Can you stop by? The buttermilk that was in the refrigerator had gone bad. Now, if you're going to do, cornbread, you need buttermilk." Well, wouldn't you know? I went to the store and they were completely sold out of buttermilk. But But I drink a lot of coffee and I use heavy cream. Do you know what heavy cream is?
Yes.
So if you take that heavy cream, there's two ways you could do it. You can kind of beat it a little bit, churn it, and it becomes two things: butter and its side product, buttermilk. Or you can take the heavy cream, and for every cup of heavy cream, just add a tablespoon of lemon juice, stir it up in there, let it sit for about 10 minutes. Guess what you got? Buttermilk.
I have read that, but I have not tried that myself. So that's good to know. So did it taste the same?
Well, we didn't do it because I was hungry. And I went, I don't want to wait 10 minutes. So we just did without the cornbread. We'll do cornbread later. But cast iron is needed for cornbread. Is there any other recipes that really can only be done exclusively on cast iron that you can think of?
I make a lot of things now that I insist has to be done in cast iron. Although a lot of times it's done traditionally, or just today it's done in other types of cookware. But I do everything from pot roast to our fried eggs for breakfast. And we cook on it at least once a day. So we literally cook almost every meal.
Why do you prefer cast iron? Obviously, I mean, you wrote a book about it. There must be something here. Why do you prefer cast iron?
Yes, there are reasons. So I actually was diagnosed with fibromyalgia years ago, and I struggled with that for a long time. And my husband and I had just gotten married, and so that was a big, just a difficulty in our lives. And I was ready to do anything to just be healthy again and get rid of that. So I ended up having to get rid of gluten, and then I had to get rid of processed sugar, or at least most of that, out of my diet. And I was doing extremely well, and I was very pleased with that, but there were still days where I felt like there was something still wrong. And so I began to hear about nonstick cookware, chemical nonstick cookware. And I mentioned it to my mom, and she says, well, it'll kill birds, right? If you have a bird inside your home, chemical nonstick cookware will actually kill your bird. And I'm like, that's got to be an urban legend. That can't be true. And I looked it up, and sure enough, Mom's right. She's always right. And I began to wonder, what am I eating? What am I putting in my body through my cookware? I'm avoiding all these nasty things in my food, but am I consuming other things through the cookware that I'm using? Mm-hmm. And so I started to research that, and I got rid of what little bit of chemical nonstick cookware I had. And then I started looking at the aluminum stuff I was using, and I didn't like that either. And I had these beautiful cast iron skillets from my mother-in-law that I loved, and I loved cooking in them, but I didn't really know how to cook all my food in it, the stuff that I cooked on a daily basis. And so I said, well, let's see if I can figure it out. And so it kind of became a challenge. And sure enough, almost everything I cooked in cast iron was better than when I cooked it in anything else. And I also found it to be more forgiving. So when I would normally maybe burn it in another type of cookware, it would do really well in the cast iron. And
it heats evenly, yeah.
It was evenly, absolutely, and it's the heat distribution is great.
Right, you don't have to keep turning the pot around, to even out the heat. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's great, and you cook, on a lower heat, and it's just harder to mess up in cast iron. And the
sounds like a man's thing, low maintenance.
Isn't it for anybody? I mean, I wish I had used cast iron when I was in college and had started that road and got rid of all that nasty chemical nonstick junk, and who knows what I was eating all these years. So I did take it as a health challenge at first, and then it just kind of became a personal thing, a preference. And now I don't really want to cook in much else.
Okay, well, a couple of humorous points. We actually have some comments in the chat room that I think are worth mentioning. Rachel Colby, who is quite a well-known, award-winning Christian writer, commented when we talked about special occasions to use cast iron. She mentions 3: breakfast, lunch, and
I should have said that. Absolutely. Go, Rachel.
And then from Sunbelt Girl, Barbara, she says she loves hash browns on cast iron.
Oh, it's my favorite. My favorite. Fried eggs and hash browns. Follow me on Instagram. There are too many pictures of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love, I know it's not good for you, but you just cook the bacon, okay, and then you've got all this
Mm-hmm.
grease, and what my
Mm-hmm.
dad used to do is we got all this grease. I mean, it's that thick in the. He would put an egg in there. The egg would
Mm-hmm.
float on the grease. Then of course you kind of scoop the grease on top of the egg to kind of cook the top of the egg. He wouldn't
Yep.
turn them over. He would just shovel some grease over the top of the egg to kind of cook it. And then you get the eggs out. Then you've got all this. You still got all this grease. You don't want to pour it down the sink. It'll,
No.
and you don't want to go outside. So what do? You make hash browns, and it soaks up all.
Yes. Yes. That is valuable. Yeah, bacon grease is gold. You don't throw that out. You use that for everything.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the funny thing. Everyone thinks, eating healthy is getting rid of all of these things. And there are some people that absolutely need to, cut out certain things. And I get that. You have to go with what works for you. But for me, I had to get rid of, like I said, the gluten and the sugar and increase a lot of those animal fats. And so yeah, I cook with bacon and I cook with sausage and I'm very unapologetic about that. It's I've had better health cooking this way and eating this way than I have my entire life actually.
Well, since you're in the area, I'm going to recommend that you take a little short trip. It's worth a drive to Johnson's Locker Plant in Monticello, Florida, and get.
Ooh,
Oh yeah. Y'all will have to just kind of forgive me
right.
here if you're watching this. You don't know what I'm talking about, but really, you probably know of a place like this. Johnson's Locker Plant literally has the pigs out there to slaughter,
Oh,
and they make the
oh,
sausage right there. And
yeah.
buddy, when you put that on there, I mean, this stuff's good. I mean, there is nothing in the store. It's sort of like if you've never been to the South America or the Caribbean, you really don't know what a good banana tastes like. Okay, if you've never lived in
Yeah.
this part of the world, Jefferson County, Florida, you don't know what a good watermelon tastes like because you pick them green. Well, you don't know what good sausage is until you go to Johnson's Locker Plant. Now, you probably know of Bradley's Country Store, and it's good, but it ain't Johnson's. Okay, go to
Well, I'm gonna
Johnson's
blow your
Locker.
mind. I'm gonna blow your mind with this one. So my sister's family, so it's kind of distant related family,
Hmm.
owns Nettles sausage.
Okay.
And so I grew up next to and nearby a sausage company for
Hmm.
much of my childhood. And it is my sister's grandmother, whom I actually mention in the book, who cooks everything in cast iron. And like me, she's anemic. And so she always wanted that iron that
Hmm.
comes from the
Hmm.
food when you cook in it. And my growing up childhood was her frying everything in cast iron
Hmm.
and you make everything in it and there's always like five on the counters with various amounts of grease in them, which is just crazy because I don't know how that works. Like I don't do it that way, but it's old school. And so I know what you mean about this the down home sausage
Yeah,
plant.
yeah.
Yes,
It's
that's
now the other
the
thing
thing.
that I found odd. You mentioned earlier. There's these non-stick surfaces. You see them advertised. They put an egg on there with no grease at all, and it just floats around. And they say nothing sticks to it. Nothing sticks to it.
Yeah.
And now I'm a little smarter than most people that watch that because my first question is, then how does that stuff stick to the skillet?
Right.
If nothing sticks to it, if you turn the skillet over, that stuff should fall out. But anyway, it's
Yeah, that chemical nonstick stuff is scary. And I go into some detail in my book on that because I did research that for a while. And they have gotten rid of some of the chemicals that they used initially that caused that, what they called Teflon flu was the
mhm.
big term that they use. And so the saying is okay, now it's safer. And I don't buy it because there are still PFOAs, which is a type of chemical used in the making of the nonstick pans. And also, if you heat a pan that's empty on the stove, that preheating process, it gets extremely hot, like much hotter than when it has food in it. And so those pans oftentimes get much hotter than the recommended heat, and you don't know it. You don't realize it's happening. You set it on the stove, you're getting your oil out, and boom, all of a sudden it's hotter than it's supposed to be, and you're breathing stuff in that they never intended for you to breathe. So I'm not saying they're being disingenuous, but the effectiveness, the actuality of what's happening is you're breathing stuff in, and you're getting it in your food.
And by the time we find out the long-term effects of it, of course, it may be too late. And I don't think they're purposefully poisoning the population, but at the same time, these are, I mean, I've seen all kinds of fads come about, the latest one being vapor, e-cigarettes, vaping. That's going to, we're finding out that, that's not that's still poison. It's just a poison by a different way. When we've talked about bacon grease and pork fat basically as a cooking medium, what about the spray on stuff, the Pam and all that kind of stuff? Is that bad? Is that good or bad?
So I've never liked the spray on butters and things like that, which it can't really be butter, but whatever's in the can. I've never really liked it. It always just seems to cause more gunk than actually do anything. But I think there's a difference between cooking and seasoning, and that's a distinction that I try to make in the book, that a lot of times when we talk about what are you using, what oils are you using, let's clarify, are you talking about in the cooking process, or are you talking about in the seasoning process, where you're making sure that your cast iron is nice and has its own natural nonstick coating. And so when you mention the spray, I never use it when I cook. It's just, I don't find it effective or good in any way. And I also don't like the fact that it's an aerosol and that it's a container I'm going to have to throw away. I find it very wasteful. But I did get it's a spray seasoning from Lodge, is part of their kit that you can buy now, and you get and I'm sorry I don't have one with me in this room, it's in another room, but it's a spray, and it has a scraper and a scrubber and all kind of things to help you take care of your pan. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try it, because that's what I'm doing. I'm trying everything to see what I like, and it works very well. It's a canola oil, which a lot of people are avoiding oil, but all it is it's a spray, and I don't think it has propellants in it either. I'd have to double check that. But their seasoning, their cast iron is so seasoned that I found that if you add too much oil in your daily seasoning process, it gets gunky and sticky. And so you don't want your pan to do that. So if your pan's sticky, you have either too much of your oil in it, or you have not enough heat to break that oil down into your pan. And I've done this. So I found that their spray seasoning is just enough to give you a little seasoning without it getting that sticky residue. So I did like that aspect of it, but I don't know that I'm going to buy any of it because, again, I find it to be wasteful. So just a dab of olive oil rubbed into the pan does just as well. So that's
I'm glad you put in a plug for olive oil, because I'm a fan of olive oil. Okay, and what I like about olive oil is it has a very high flash temperature, so it's not likely to smoke and burn. You don't get all this heavy grease and clogging up the little filter fans and all that. The other thing is, once you get used to the liberal use of olive oil, I don't use butter. I don't put butter on anything. I put olive oil, and it's very filling because it is loaded with calories, but it's very healthy. Canola oil was very popular, but they're starting to find out that there's some things they didn't know about canola oil. Before that, it was vegetable oil. We're getting away from animal fat, so we go to vegetable oil. And it's funny, these new things come about that's going to solve the health problem. Then years later, they find out, whoops. I think the key here, something I learned from a college professor in biology, the key is moderation. Too much of anything is not going to be good for you. Or even something that's not good for you. Pizza, for example. That's in moderation, folks. Just moderation.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's very good advice. I've also learned through my crazy health journey if God makes it, it's probably better than something we make.
Simple test
And
when you go to the grocery store. Yeah, look at it.
yeah,
Just look at it. Does this look like something God made? Look at a hot
right.
dog. God it doesn't look like God. Look at cereal. But if you get wheat based cereal, you can always tell the wheat based cereal. The boxes are smaller, but they weigh twice as much. That means you're getting something.
That's interesting. That's probably very true. Yeah.
Imagine Rice Krispies. If you took an entire box of Rice Krispies and mashed it down, you could hold it in the palm of your hand, an entire box of it.
That's true. It's very different. But things have changed over time because you kind of have to add in that caveat. Maybe God made it, but we changed it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our produce today is very GMO, and it's not really what it used to be. We even have animals today that are not what they used to be. I mean, dairy cows didn't exist hundreds of years ago. Yak milk is actually much closer to what people used to drink hundreds and thousands of years ago. Not
and the
cow
leather, the skin of a yak is much better quality, more durable leather. Anyway, we're running out of time. I did want to mention, thanks that Renee Leonard Kennedy is in our chat room, and she says that my wok is cast iron, and she loves it. I didn't know woks. I thought the whole idea of a wok was lightweight and the heat but interesting.
Yes, I want to research this some more. Cast iron is popular in Asia, and the wok is one of those special tools that they use in their cooking. I don't know how much I could get out of it on my regular stove. Like the benefit of a wok is its shape, and you kind of move it around.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how that works, but I met a lady who is Korean, and she said that she uses it all the time and loves it, but she wasn't sure how to cook other foods in cast iron. So I'm going to connect with her, and I wanted to do a blog or two on that because that was very interesting.
Well, and we're out of time actually, but I did want to get this in. In my opinion, tell me if I'm right here, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you have an electric range, you really, really, really need to use cast iron. The electric range, the heating distribution is just compared to a gas flame.
Yeah, it depends. I've seen some electric ranges that really had no business being a stove. I mean, they were just really bad. And so, like, my mom has one that's a new one and it doesn't cook well. And she finds it very difficult to cook in cast iron because her stove just doesn't work properly. So I even address that in the book. And I suggest that if you have a range of some kind that's just it's not heating right and you're having issues with cooking everything and you can't figure it out, get a fifth burner of some kind, whether it's a little electric coal or whether it's an induction burner, but just buy a $25-$40 burner or get a new stove. But most of us can't afford to still get a new stove, but you can get another burner and stick that on your countertop and try that. Because I've heard a lot of people just complain that nothing's working, and I don't believe that's you. I think that's your stove.
Yeah, could be. And I really love the flat top surfaces, but they don't heat. Well, propane is my, natural gas, is my favorite. But not everybody has that. Most of us use electricity,
Yeah.
Well, doggone it, we're out of time. Ashley, folks, Ashley is again not a cook, but we may have some surprises for you in the days and weeks and months ahead.
Yeah.
Because Ashley's book will be coming out April 1st. And I've got some ideas. And that's all I'm going to tell you for now. It's kind of a teaser. But, Ashley, thanks for filling in for Michelle tonight. You've done it once before. And it's just great to have you, let's just all hope Michelle gets better because, I actually have this. I should have published it. I should have gotten a screenshot. She says she's lost her voice. I thought, really? That's
true. We should publish that. That's a first.
That would be a first. She is never. She's like me. She'll start 4 or 5 sentences, and it's like, reel it in, Michelle. Where were we? Come back over here. And but
I think she is feeling better.
I hope so.
It's the voice, bless her heart. So yes, prayers.
Yeah. Well, we hope that she'll be okay. But Ashley, thanks for filling in, and we look forward to the release of your new book, April 1st. Give us that title one more time.
Thank you. It's Modern Cast Iron, the complete guide to selecting, seasoning, cooking, and more.
All right. Ashley, have a good night. Thanks for joining us. It's been great.
Thank you. You too.
All right, folks. Been a fun night here at PJNet Live. Thanks to all of you who have joined us live in our chat room, and that is found at patriotjournalist.com. Thank you to all of those who are watching this live, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And for those of you who are seeing this, you must be therefore watching the recorded version of it on one of those platforms. Well, we thank you as well. We appreciate your feedback. Feel free to make comments. And I hope you'll come join the friendly folks in our live chat room when we go live. And that's pretty much, almost every night now, about 9 o'clock Eastern. So we will continue that tomorrow, or no, I don't think we have. Now, tomorrow is, if I recall, I don't even know what day it is, Thursday. You know, when you have a holiday, it's kind of hard to keep up. Tomorrow we have J.D. Winiger, and it will be his second appearance, but he will be the first, what is this? The first Thursday of every month. Folks, we're building a tremendous lineup of interesting people, the very diverse backgrounds and subject matter, and we look forward to hearing what they've got to say right here on PJNet Live. I hope you'll join us.